Hi everyone, happy Fridays. From today's class, I am going to release two lectures at the same time, Lecture A and Lecture 9. So we did talk about last time, starting from Lecture 7, so we will be focusing on sports governance. So in the Lecture A and Lecture 9, we'll be talking about some governance issues in college sports and in professional sports. So I understand that you guys are looking forward to have a 3 days weekend. So I decided to release these two lectures at the same times. I'll give you enough time to work on these two different lectures because a lot of materials we're going to talk about, a lot of different interesting things we will discuss in this class. So for the lecture A, we will be focusing on some governance issues in college sport. So what do you have to focus? So the content we talk about three different governing bodies in college sport, not just about NCAA, but also we're going to talk a little bit about NAIA and then JCAA. So you need to know like how many members in each of the national governing bodies in college sports and what those members are and what kind of colleges they would like to belongs to an NJCAA, for instance. So, but our main focus is still on the NCAA. We will look at the organizational structure. So NCAA is using two structures. One is associate-wide structure, one is a division-specific structure. So you have to know why do they want to have that purpose. So actually, I think the textbook will give you a pretty good information in terms of how these NCAA has been structured. We know NCAA has three different divisions, D1, D2, and D3 schools. So I'm also in the video later on, I'll give you very clear explanations about what are the requirements for the D1 school, D2 school, and D3 institutions. So in terms of the policy area, so we are mainly focusing on three main policy has been introduced in the college sport. One is eligibility rules. That include the initial eligibilities. So basically, it's if you are a high school athlete, you want to become the NCAA athletes. So what will be the requirement for those athletes? And then the APR score is the one that we're using to examine whether the students not just focusing on sport, but also focusing on their studies when they are playing sports in colleges. And the transfer rules is determine whether NCAA is a support athlete transfer from one institution to another institution for playing sports or not. So we're going to talk a little bit about eligibility rules. We're also going to talk a little bit about the Title IX, which is the policy that has been require institutions to provide equal opportunity for both male and female to participate in sports. And then we're going to talk about the amortization rules. The big discussions in the most recent years. Should college students, particularly college students athletes, should be compensated because they're playing the college sport. A lot of discussions, so we'll talk a little bit about it as well. So in terms of reading for this week, for this class, you have to read this textbook, Chapter A. I talk about college sport. And also, I hope that you can have the opportunity to go and read these readings, the history behind the debates over paying the NCAA athletes. So that will really help you to have a better understanding about the history behind these very intensive debates nowadays. Right, so for the videos, if you have time, you can watch the interview that had with the current NCAA President Mark Emmert. And also we have two videos that I'm sharing with you about the lectures. So if you have the opportunity, you can go and look at the first videos mainly focusing on the structures, and the second video mainly focusing on these policy areas. Okay, so this is the lecture notes. And for the today's class, you will be doing the online quiz 5. So initially, I did talk about we're going to have 5 online quizzes and then have 5 online discussion, right? So I just changed a little bit. So I decided to have 6 online quizzes and 4 online discussions. And also I am planning to create the final exams that include like all the questions from the final exams are going to come from the online quizzes. So we're going to have 6 online quizzes plus 1 bonus quiz you guys did previously. So 7 quizzes in total. So for the final exam, all the questions you will be doing is all coming from these 7 quizzes. So it's very easy for you to prepare. So what you have to do is just, go and review every quizzes right before taking that final exam. So I think can release your pressure a little bit. I guarantee all the questions for the final exams are all going to come from those 7 quizzes that we have been doing in this class. Okay, so this is about the lecture 8. I know next Monday is national holiday, so I also release lecture 9 today as well. So for the lecture 9, we're going to talk about some governance issues in professional sports. As we did mention previously, for the governance issues in professional sports, we're not just talking about professional sports in the US, but also we're going to talk about professional sports outside the United States. Like we'll talk a little bit about how professional sport has been organized in Europe, and also we're going to spend some time to talk about professional individual sports. So some people maybe follow tennis, follow golf. People maybe want to know how golf has been organized. How has professional individual sport has been organized differently compared to professional team sports? So we're going to spend time to talking about it on the lecture 9. So this is the structure. So since we cover a lot of content in lecture 9, so we're going to talk about what made professional sports league unique, and we talk about closely structure. We talk about single entity structure. So single entity structure is the business model that has been adopted by MLS, which is differentiate MLS from the other 4 main professional sports leagues in the United States. When we look at most of the professional sports league, the organization structure is very similar. They have a commissioner, they have a board of governors, they have league offices. We're going to talk about all their roles and their responsibilities for all the different roles. We talk about some of the competitive balance strategy has been utilized by professional sports leagues in order to enhance the competitions levels, right? And so those are the strategy we are going to, opposite policy that we are going to talk about in professional sports in the US. In terms of professional sports league in Europe, we're mainly going to focus on the English Premier League because in the introductions, I think at least 4 or 5 students mentioned that they're a huge fan of Liverpool or huge fan of Manchester United or some Arsenals, right? So I like watching Arsenals. So I'm using English Premier League as an example to explain a little bit about how professional sports league has been organized, has been governed in Europe. So we talk about the membership, talk about league structure, talk about team structure. So when we talk about the differences, I always will compare how professional sports in Europe with the professional sports in the US and help you to understand the differences and the similarity in the differences. Right, and also we're going to spend some time to talk about transfer policies in professional sports league in Europe. That's very crucial. It's called Bosman rulings, and I'm going to introduce a little bit about the history of the Bosman rulings and how has Bosman ruling will impact all the different stakeholders that get involved in the decision-making process. And the most important part of today's class is obviously we're going to compare the similarities and differences between professional sports league in Europe and professional sports league in the US from their league structures perspective, from their competitive balance rules perspective, from their financial models, from their player developments, right? So all the different things. So we're going to talk about in the class. So in the chapter 9, I'm also going to talk about professional individual sports. So what made professional individual sport unique compared to the team sports, right? So we look at the event organizations, sports governing bodies, involvements in athletics developments and income resources. So we're mainly going to focus on professional golf, right? We've seen some students are very interested in golf. So we're going to talk a little bit about the governing bodies, golf, including USGA, United States Golf Association, and RNA. So what's RNA? We're going to talk. You're going to watch the video and have a better understanding about it. And also we'll talk about the differences between PGA of America and the PGA Tours. And also we'll talk about some other general issues in professional golf. So for today's reading for professional sports, there's a lot of things for you to read. Again, the textbook chapter 12 to chapter 14, these 4 chapters They talk about professional sports in the US, professional sport outside the United States, and professional individual sport. I strongly recommend you to read the textbooks and also watch these 4 videos, right? The 4 videos. And then complete the quizzes. Lecture 9 quizzes is about governance in professional sport, which is online quiz 6. Online quiz 6 and online quiz 5. Maybe a lot of questions are so detail oriented, so you will have to spend a lot of time to prepare. So I'm giving you 1 hour instead of 30 minutes to work on each of the quizzes. So you have 1 hour to work on quiz 5. You have 1 hour to work on quiz 6. Right, so this is about the lecture 8 and 9. One more thing I try to remind you, next Monday is the time for you to complete the group projects. So make sure you start working with your group members early, submit your group projects on time on Canvas. So each group, you only need to submit 1 submissions. So when you submit a group project, please indicate who has been involved into this group project. So I basically put you guys into 7 different groups. Each group have 3 members, right? Make sure you reach out with another 2 members and you can start working on things together. So when you finish, you can just submit it on Canvas. So any questions, emails to the best way to get hold of me. I welcome to reviewing all your grading all your assignments. So I already finished grading the first individual assignments. I guess a lot of you have seen your grades on Canvas. So I also have a lot of comments for each of the assignment you have submit. So overall, I think you guys did a pretty good job though. All right, that's it for today. I hope you enjoy these 3 days weekends. So next time when we're talking about these, having that video is gonna be on Wednesday, and when the next video is gonna be the last video for us to have for this semester. So in the last video, we're gonna talk about the final exam. I'm gonna release the final exam on Wednesday, and also I will talk a little bit about the last online discussion you have to complete in this class. Right, so all right, that's it for today. Enjoy your weekend. Talk to you later.